Hello! Welcome to 70 Years, 70 Muppets. More Muppets, Please. A Muppet fan podcast presented by toughpigs.com. This is the podcast where we celebrate the Muppets' 70th anniversary with a series of spotlights on our favorite Muppet characters, from fan favorites to the most obscure. I am this week's host, Drake, and the Muppet of the Week is Fleet Scribbler, performed by Jerry Nelson, making their world debut in 1977. Fleet Scribbler was an aggressive gossip columnist for the tabloid The Daily Scandal. His main episode is the one starring George Burns, where Fleet roots around backstage looking for a story until he meets his match against a master wordsmith, George Burns. Fleet was introduced as a new character in the show's second season, to much fanfare. Head writer Jerry Jewell recalls in the book of Muppets and Men how Fleet was announced at a reception for the English press, and they loved him. They splashed him all over the front pages of the tabloids. But when the Muppet writing staff started working him into the show, they found him too abrasive, even awful, and quickly looked for a way to phase him out without catching the attention of the press that had been so excited about him. In the end, Fleet was only in 2 episodes of season 2, the one with Rich Little and the one with George Burns, and only the Raquel Welch episode of season 3. Kermit is also on the phone with Fleet in the season 3 episode with Gilda Radner. So that's it. Like most tabloid stories, all that fuss and hoopla for not much in the end. But what about his grand entrance? Part of it is reporters love to report on reporters and media, on themselves essentially. I say this as a former newspaper reporter. We like to be in on the joke. Reporters don't mind being abrasive, they have to be aggressive, and Fleet's clever. He gets access where he shouldn't and finds a way to keep Kermit talking. That's his job. He knows how to trade publicity for information, he's good with words. And I mean, Statler and Waldorf aren't generally thought of as kind and cuddly, and Behemoth straight up eats everyone. So it's not like everyone on the Muppet Show is all goodness. The little guy has moxie, and I appreciate that. It's been almost 50 years since Fleet arrived at the Muppet Show, so I thought I would check in with some people who work in media now to get their reactions to this character. Starting with Emma Daly, a recovering journalist who spent 18 years reporting, mostly as a foreign correspondent. She's now a human rights activist working to counter voter suppression and censorship, and she knows well what makes reporting challenging and so important.
The power of a headline, the original clickbait, drawing the audience in, but also making clear what kind of a story you're planning to tell. And if classically you think, oh, there's 2 sides to every story, well, actually, as a journalist, you learn very quickly that there are multiple sides to many stories, and that perhaps what you're trying to do is tell the most accurate story that you can. But often that's going to be very difficult. It's going to be complicated by your own biases, your own history, your own experiences, your own worldview. I think there are honest journalists who try to see through their own biases, who understand that no one can be objective, that we're all a product of our experiences. Some of us can try to at least be aware of those and to pay attention to those. But also, it is important to celebrate, I think, the truth-telling that journalists can do, the speaking truth to power, and that ability to see a story, size it up, and pass it on as pithily and sometimes as entertainingly as possible. That upholds our world. Democracies can't function without it, and it's under attack both from authoritarian censors and from corporate owners. And here's just hoping the next generation do better.
So the media has a lot of responsibility. I guess the question is whether Fleet is up to the task.
Matt Toomey, New York Times. Fleet Scribbler is a hack. He's always been a hack. He'll always be a hack. He'll never be more than a hack. And he knows it.
Okay, but that's the New York Times. They can be a little snobby. How does Fleet factor into the tabloid world?
Hi, this is Zach, and I work in PR, but used to be a reporter for the New York Post and the New York Times. To me, Fleet Scribbler is hilarious, and his interaction with Kermit is spot-on tabloid sensibility. He's doing everything possible to try to get something new. He's putting himself at the center of the story and threatening his interview subjects with negative coverage unless they start talking to him. In a lot of ways, it's like a cop shaking down a suspect. It's a PR person's nightmare, although George Burns is a media pro. Fleet reminds me of a time at the New York Post almost 20 years ago when the Post was going after the Yankees star A-Rod, and they were running cover story after cover story about how he was not performing well and he was the highest paid player in the league, and they caught him in Las Vegas walking around with a stripper, and they put it on the cover with the headline "Stray Rod." I'm sure the reporters were also harassing his wife for a comment and calling all of the Yankees PR people. So at the next home game, A-Rod's wife was in the stadium with their 2-year-old daughter wearing a shirt that said "F*** you" on the back. And the Post had her on the cover the next day with the headline "F-Rod," and interviewed as many people as possible at the game, calling her obscene and crazy. And Yankee Stadium apparently had a policy at the time that you couldn't wear clothing that was, quote, offensive or in bad taste or something like that. Right in line with putting yourself at the center of the story, the Post hammered the general manager of the Yankees with questions about why they didn't throw Cynthia Rodriguez out of the stadium, and the Yankees wouldn't really engage, and they just wanted the whole thing to go away. So the Post sent a reporter with the exact same T-shirt that A-Rod's wife had to the next home game, hoping that she would get thrown out as well. I think the Yankees, being smart and knowing who the reporter was, decided not to do that and let it go. And the Post basically dropped it after that. But they had a lot of fun. Given the media environment we're in now, I think it's kind of interesting if they would bring back Fleet Scribbler to the Muppets, but I can see how some of the people working behind the scenes found him annoying, and perhaps the puppeteers didn't take kindly to his aggressiveness.
Is there a role today for Fleet, and what would that look like?
Peter Loria, editorial director at Korn Ferry and former New York Post reporter. When I watch old clips of Fleet Scribbler, I can't help but think how relevant the character would be today if the Muppets brought him back as a digital media reporter or something like that, and they could develop so many storylines about things that are going around in the news or in the media in general, or how people get information to help educate kids. I think there might be a real opportunity there to bring this character back to life in a big way.
If Fleet were to be introduced now, would he still be celebrated? How would he be presented if the media reported on him today?
Hi, this is Milton Valencia, Deputy Metro Editor with the Boston Globe, and I'm here reporting for 70 years, 70 Muppets, more Muppets, please, the Muppet fan podcast for toughpigs.com. And we're writing and reporting on Fleet Scribbler, that aggressive tabloid reporter from season 2 of The Muppet Show. I love this character, love him in so many ways. He brings out the stereotype of that old, ragged, aggressive, intrepid reporter from the tabloid era. Think New York Post, think Boston Herald. It wasn't my style, but I went against them, and they were just the most fierce reporters of them all. And I just love the puns, and you saw this come out with this character where he mentioned Gonzo Fiddles and George Burns, and I could just see that headline screaming on page 1 of the Herald or the Post, page 6, all of the above. I also love the cliche of him wandering around with the notebook and the camera all in one pack while he wanders around, just kind of harassing and again, what an aggressive kind of intrepid in-your-face reporter. They don't make them like they used to, thankfully. They did quite a bit of they did quite a bit of damage for the reputation, but you know what? When they got it right, and they deserve that. And I know that Fleet Scribbler got it right many times.
It really seems like Fleet holds up with those who work in the media, is maybe even admired for some of the traits the Muppet writers didn't like. But what about all the talk these days about biased media?
If you want 100% accuracy and truth, I'm incapable of it, and I think any other broadcaster or organ is incapable of it.
So what's really important?
You look good. You had a great voice.
Hey, who are you two anyway?
Chet Huntley, NBC News, New York.
And David Brinkley, NBC News, Washington.
I said I'm trying to find out what current media thinks. Current media.
Hi all, this is Kermit the Frog of Sesame Street News.
Okay. I think it's time to get out of here. This is Drake from Tough Pigs, signing off.
70 Years, 70 Muppets, More Muppets Please is a Muppet fan podcast presented by toughpigs.com. Hosted by a myriad of people and edited by them as well. Produced by Joe Hennis. The Muppets 70 logo is used with permission by the Muppet Studio, with thanks to Danny Iglesias, Frank Reifschneider, and Lee Slaughter. Don't forget to follow toughpigs.com on all social media platforms, and you can support us by heading to patreon.com/toughpigs or by buying merchandise at tpublic.com/toughpigs.